are back with another top 10 video. This time we're doing the top 10 defensive linemen. I am filming this a little bit early as I am watching Copa America semifinals down in the United States at the moment. Hopefully Canada can beat Argentina. I don't think it'll happen, but I'm hoping for it. Either way, let's get into our top 10 defensive linemen. But before we get to that, I want to take a second to ask you to please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. Really helps out. If you're a fan of the NFL, you'll love this channel as we release multiple NFL-related videos every Tuesday and Friday all year long. Now, let's get back to the video. We're going to start off at number 10 with Michael Strahan, a 7-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro, 1-time 20-sack performer, 2-time sack leader of the NFL, and Super Bowl champion. Now, in today's day, he may better be known as a TV personality, both on Good Morning America, as well as the NFL on Fox, but for those of you who remember Michael Strahan, he was one of the most feared defensive end pass rushers in recent league history. Michael Strahan, in his final year in the NFL, was able to get over that hump, win his second Super Bowl appearance, beating the 16-0, potentially greatest team of all time, New England Patriots. Michael Strahan did it all throughout his career, over 140 sacks. He has the accolades, he has the sacks, he has the personality. He belongs on this list at number 10. At number 9, we have Julius Peppers, one of the greatest defensive ends in Carolina Panthers history, as well as, frankly, in Chicago Bears history, which is pretty impressive given how great Chicago Bears defenses have been over the course of history. But Julius Peppers, while only there for a short period of time, was absolutely stellar in his time in Chicago, along with his time in Carolina. During his career, Julius Peppers put up nearly 160 sacks. He had 9 Pro Bowl appearances, 6 All-Pro team appearances, and he even played a little bit of outside linebacker during his time in Green Bay. Now, I'm still calling him a defensive lineman because the majority of his career was spent on the defensive line at defensive end for the Carolina Panthers and the Chicago Bears, but it just shows he did have that versatility to cover in space when needed to, though he was still more of a pass rusher during his time in Green Bay. Either way, while Julius Peppers never cleared the 15-sack threshold during his NFL career, he was able to get to so many sacks because of how prolific he was for how long he was. During his age 37 season, he was still able to put up 11 sacks. That's absolutely unheard of, given there's very few NFL players who play to 37 years old nowadays, and he was doing that in 2017, the not too distant past. So this guy absolutely belongs in the top 10 defensive linemen at number 9. At number 8, we got Warren Sapp, and my God, was this guy one of the most feared defensive linemen in history, rushing up the interior. This guy joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1995 and almost immediately turned a Tony Dungy-led defense into one of the greatest defenses in the past 30 years of NFL history. During Sapp's time in Tampa Bay, he went to 7 straight Pro Bowls, made 6 straight All-Pro teams, and he was able to win a Defensive Player of the Year, all while dominating the Oakland Raiders in Super Bowl in 2002 before moving to the Oakland Raiders to play out the latter part of his career. While Warren Sapp's total sack numbers leaves a little bit to be desired compared to some other guys on this list, not quite hitting 100 sacks, given the fact that he was an interior defensive lineman who also had massive run stuff responsibility, I still think Warren Sapp's 96.5 sacks is absolutely phenomenal for anybody who plays in the interior, and so he definitely belongs at number 8 on this list. At number 7 on our list, we have Merlin Olsen, an older guy on this list, but my God, was Merlin Olsen dominant during his time with the LA Rams in the 60s and 70s. During Merlin Olsen's 15-year NFL career, he made it to 8 straight All-Pro teams, as well as 14 straight Pro Bowls, with the only year he missed the Pro Bowl being his final year in the NFL. To put that in perspective, Merlin Olsen is tied for second among all NFL players in history for Pro Bowl appearances. The only guy who clears him is Tom Brady, who played into his mid-40s, and Brady only has 15 Pro Bowl appearances. Merlin Olsen is one of the greatest, most consistent defensive linemen in history and absolutely belongs at number 7 here on this list. At number 6, we have the Secretary of Defense himself, Deacon Jones. Deacon Jones is the originator of the sack. And I'm not kidding when I say that. The term sack was literally coined by Deacon Jones. And it kind of makes sense. If you look at the history of sacks, both official and unofficial, Deacon Jones is the only player in NFL history to have more than 120 sack season. And he did it 3 times. During Deacon Jones' prime, he made it to 6 straight All-Pro teams, 7 straight Pro Bowls, 8 Pro Bowls in total, while averaging 20 sacks a season. And remember, nobody else in league history has ever had one season over 20 sacks, and he was averaging 20 sacks a year during his prime. During that 6-year run of All-Pro nods, he led the league in sacks 5 times as part of the Los Angeles Rams fearsome foursome, along with Merlin Olsen earlier on this list. There's a reason that defensive front was called the fearsome foursome, because my God, were they good. All told, Deacon Jones put up over 170 sacks in his career, which would be good enough to put him 3rd all-time in terms of official and unofficial sacks. And the only reason Deacon Jones has unofficial sacks is because he literally created the term. It was not a thing before Deacon Jones. And so he definitely belongs in our top 10 list here at number 6. At number 5, we have Mean Joe Greene. And I said it before on some of our lists, you cannot talk about any top 10 for a defensive position and not have a steel curtain player on that list. And so that's why Mean Joe Greene is here. I mean, it's not just because he was part of that 1970s Steel Curtain era Steelers defense. This guy was a beast all around. He's probably best remembered for his famous Coke commercial where he throws the kid the sweater. But let's be real. The reason he was in that commercial was because of his dominance on the football field. During Joe Greene's time in the NFL, he was able to win 4 Super Bowls, 3 Defensive Players of the Year, make it to 10 Pro Bowls, and he was able to go to 6 All-Pro teams. That's an absolutely insane resume for any player at any position to put up. Yes, he only had one 10-sack season, but he's an interior defensive lineman in an era where his job was literally just to stop the run. He was not supposed to stop the pass, and yet he still did have a double-digit sack season. Mean Joe Greene is one of the greatest defensive linemen in history, and there's no doubt he has to be here at number 5 on this list. At number 4 on our list, we have Allan Page. And what can't you say about Allan Page? This guy, the guy you see on screen right now, was a defensive tackle. He made it to 10 Pro Bowls. He had 8 10-sack seasons as a defensive tackle. He is one of only 2 defensive players in NFL history to win the MVP award, being the first one ever to do it in 1971. And oh yeah, he made 8 All-Pro teams to boot. Primarily known for his time with the Minnesota Vikings, he also spent a little bit of time at the end of his career in the late 70s, early 80s with the Chicago Bears. But what you might better know from him in modern day is he served on the Minnesota Supreme Court. I mean, come on. How many former All-Pro, Pro Bowl, defensive MVP NFL players have the academic ability to then go and serve on the Minnesota Supreme Court? He was that successful a lawyer and judge post his NFL career. Allan Page is extremely famous in the NFL as he was one of the biggest activists for the Players Union and got a law degree while playing in the NFL. If you're interested in learning more about Allan Page, Secret Base has a fantastic series on the history of the Minnesota Vikings by John Boyes, and I highly recommend it. It goes through their entire history and talks a lot about Allan Page. If you're interested and fascinated by the career of this guy and his history, yeah, go watch that. Shameless plug, not promoted at all. I just really like the channel. Either way, Allan Page with all those credentials, easily number 4 on our top 10 defensive lineman list. At number 3 on our list, we have Bruce Smith, the all-time NFL leader in sacks with 200 sacks exactly in his NFL career. The only guy to have 200 sacks at least in his career. I mean, obviously, because he's the league leader in history. Shockingly, Bruce Smith is one of those guys who has never put up a 20-sack season, but he had 13 seasons in his long, illustrious career with over 10 sacks. And he played into his 40s, which is just incredible, frankly. Yeah, towards the end, he wasn't putting up great numbers, but in his 40-year-old season, he still put up 5 sacks. That's insane. Bruce Smith is best known for his time with the Buffalo Bills, where he was able to help lead that defense to 4 straight Super Bowls, where, yes, they didn't win any of them, as we all know the 4 falls of Buffalo, but hey, making it to 4 straight Super Bowls is a feat that no other team in NFL history has accomplished. And so you got to give some credit to how good that Buffalo Bills defense was. And Bruce Smith was their de facto leader, no doubt about it. During his time with the Buffalo Bills, Bruce Smith was able to make it to 11 Pro Bowls and 11 All-Pro teams, which is just an absolutely insane number of All-Pro teams to make. Like, Pro Bowls, sure, I get it. Pro Bowl's a little bit of a lower bar. But 11 All-Pro teams is just insane to make. Beyond that, Bruce Smith was able to put up 43 forced fumbles in his career, over 1,200 tackles, and win 2 NFL Defensive Player of the Years, playing with some of the greatest defensive players of all time during the 80s and 90s. So being able to do that, absolutely, Bruce Smith deserves to be at least number 3 on this list, which is why he gets that spot. At number 2, I have Aaron Donald, and I struggled with where to put Aaron Donald. If you look at a lot of the guys that are high up on this list, they were not only elite during their time in the NFL, but they played for a long time in the NFL. Aaron Donald retired just this past year after only 10 seasons in the NFL, but those 10 seasons were absolutely remarkable, and so I have a tough time not having Aaron Donald this high. And yes, I acknowledge recency bias probably plays a role in his ranking here. During Donald's time in the NFL, he never missed a Pro Bowl. He made it to 8 All-Pro teams, all of which being first-team All-Pro. He won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He won the Super Bowl where he made the final play, shown in this image where he told everyone, "Give me that ring." He had 6 10-plus sack seasons in the NFL as an interior pass rusher, including one season with over 20 sacks as an interior pass rusher. This guy literally did everything for the Rams during his 10-year career and was easily the best defensive player in the NFL during nearly the entirety of his NFL career, being number 1 on the NFL's top 100 multiple times. There's a reason this guy has to go down as one of the greatest defensive players in the history of the NFL. And so in spite his very short NFL career, I'm still putting him up here at number 2. And at number 1 on our list, we have Reggie White. Reggie White is far and away the greatest defensive lineman for both the Green Bay Packers franchise and the Philadelphia Eagles franchise. And if you don't agree with me, tell me in the comments who you think it is, because I think it's pretty clear that it's Reggie White for both those teams. This guy went to 13 straight Pro Bowls and made 13 straight All-Pro teams, with the only seasons he didn't get those 2 accolades being his rookie season and his final season in the NFL, which was after a year of being retired when he came back for 1 year with the Carolina Panthers. This guy had 12 10-plus sack seasons, led the league in sacks twice, with one of those seasons being over 20 sacks with 21 sacks, won 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and he has 198 sacks throughout the duration of his career, only 2 behind all-time sack leader Bruce Smith. And Bruce Smith played into his 40s. Yes, Reggie White played until he was 39, but Reggie White also retired after his age 37 season, where he won NFL Player of the Year in his age 37 season, which is just insane to believe. You listen to anyone talk about him during the 90s, he is and was the heir apparent to Lawrence Taylor in terms of just terrorizing NFL backfields. He is the first player to truly show what the power of free agency can do for the NFL, leaving the Eagles for the Green Bay Packers. All that and more I can say about Reggie White, which is why he is the greatest defensive lineman in NFL history. But that's it for our list of top 10 defensive linemen in NFL history, at least per my opinion. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like down below, leave a comment as well. Help us out, help us grow. Either way, I'll see you all next time. Peace!